A mother horse cried for help, and when the man saw her injured foal, he was frozen in shock. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the vast expanse of Caleb's Montana ranch. The wind, carrying the scent of sagebrush and pine, whispered through the weathered barn, its wooden frame creaking like an old man reminiscing about bygone days. Inside the ranch house, Caleb, a man weathered by time and solitude, sat by the crackling fireplace, its warmth a meager comfort against the encroaching chill of the autumn evening. His calloused hands, roughened by years of toil, absently traced the grain of the worn wooden table, his gaze lost in the dancing flames, his thoughts adrift in a sea of memories and regrets. Caleb, his hair the color of a winter sky, his eyes reflecting the vastness of the Montana plains, was a man defined by his connection to the land, his life etched in the furrows of his brow and the lines around his eyes. He had spent his years working the ranch, his days filled with the demanding tasks of tending to livestock, mending fences, and training horses. But a deep sadness lingered beneath his rugged exterior, a loneliness that echoed through the empty rooms of the ranch house and the vast expanse of his land. His wife, Sarah, had been taken too soon, a victim of a sudden illness that had swept through their lives like a prairie fire, leaving behind a void that even the most demanding chores couldn't fill. His children, grown and scattered across the country, called regularly, their voices a lifeline to a world beyond the ranch. But their visits were infrequent, their lives filled with the bustle of families and careers, a stark contrast to the solitary rhythm that had become Caleb's existence. He found solace in the routine of his work, the familiar tasks a comforting anchor in the sea of his loneliness. He would rise before dawn, the sky still painted with the remnants of the night, and saddle his horse, a trusty Palomino named Sunny. He would ride the fences, his keen eyes scanning for breaks, his weathered hands mending the gaps with practiced ease. He would check on the cattle, their lowing a familiar symphony in the vast expanse of the plains. He would tend to the horses, their gentle presence a comforting reminder of the bond between man and animal. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched across the land, the silence of the ranch house would close in on him, the emptiness a constant companion. He would cook a simple meal, the clatter of pots and pans a hollow echo in the vast kitchen. He would sit by the fireplace, its flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, their flickering movements a mockery of the lively conversations that had once filled the room. He would read by the light of a kerosene lamp, the words blurring on the pages, his thoughts drifting towards Sarah, her laughter, her warmth, the love that had been the anchor of his life. He would retire to bed, the silence of the night amplifying the emptiness beside him, the memories of Sarah's soft breaths and gentle touch a bittersweet ache in his heart. He would lie awake, his gaze fixed on the star-studded sky, its vastness mirroring the loneliness that had become his constant companion. He yearned for a connection, a spark of joy, a presence that would fill the void in his life. But the pain of his loss had left him hesitant, his heart guarded, his spirit wary of forming new bonds that might only lead to further heartbreak. And so, he lived his days in a quiet solitude, his only companions the animals he cared for, the land he tended, and the memories that haunted his dreams. He was a man adrift in a sea of loneliness, his heart yearning for a connection, his spirit seeking a beacon of hope in the vast expanse of the Montana wilderness. Beyond the fences of Caleb's ranch, the untamed spirit of the West still thrived. A herd of wild mustangs roamed the neighboring plains, their hooves drumming a primal rhythm against the earth, their manes flowing in the wind like banners of freedom. Among them was a magnificent mare, her coat the color of a fiery sunset, her eyes reflecting the untamed spirit of the wilderness. She was Spirit, the leader of the herd, her strength and grace a testament to the resilience of her kind. She had been born into the wild, her life a constant dance between the harsh realities of survival and the exhilarating freedom of the open plains. She had witnessed the changing seasons, the cycles of life and death, the delicate balance of the ecosystem that governed their existence. She had led her herd through droughts and blizzards, her instincts guiding their movements, her courage protecting them from predators. She had nurtured her foals, their playful antics a source of joy and renewal, their presence a testament to the enduring spirit of the wild. Spirit, her heart filled with the wisdom of the land, knew the secrets of the plains, the hidden trails that led to waterholes, the sheltered valleys that offered refuge from the storms. She had learned to read the signs of nature, the whispers of the wind, the language of the clouds, the subtle cues that foretold the changing seasons. She had faced challenges, overcome adversity, and emerged stronger, her spirit unbroken, her loyalty to her herd unwavering. She was a symbol of freedom, a testament to the enduring power of the wild, a creature that embodied the very essence of the Montana landscape. One crisp autumn morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and crimson, Spirit felt the first pangs of labor, the familiar rhythm of life stirring within her. She sought a secluded spot, a sheltered grove nestled amidst the rolling hills, a haven where she could bring her new foal into the world. She lay down on the soft earth, her body trembling with the effort of birth, her breaths misting in the cool air, her eyes reflecting the anticipation and the primal fear that accompanied the arrival of new life. And as the sun reached its zenith, casting a golden glow on the secluded grove, a new life emerged. A foal with a coat as dark as the night sky, its eyes reflecting the fire of its mother's spirit. Spirit, her heart swelling with maternal love, nuzzled her foal, its soft whinnies a symphony of welcome and protection. She cleaned its damp fur, her rough tongue a gentle caress, her warmth a comforting presence against its fragile body. She watched over it with a fierce protectiveness, her instincts guiding her actions, her love a shield against the dangers of the wild. But as the day wore on, a storm gathered on the horizon, its dark clouds casting a shadow over the plains, its winds carrying the scent of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. Spirit, her senses alert to the approaching danger, knew she had to find shelter, a safe haven for her newborn foal. She led her foal towards a rocky outcrop, its jagged edges offering protection from the elements, its hidden crevices a potential refuge from the storm's fury. But as they approached the outcrop, a misstep on the uneven terrain sent the foal tumbling down a hidden ravine, its cries echoing through the stillness, its small body landing with a sickening thud. Spirit, her heart filled with panic, rushed to her foal's side, her eyes widening in horror as she saw the deep gash on its leg, the blood staining its dark fur, its whimpers a heart-wrenching plea for help. She nuzzled her foal, her warmth a comfort against its trembling body, her soft whinnies a desperate attempt to soothe its pain. But she knew she couldn't help it, her own knowledge of healing limited to the instincts of the wild, her fear for her foal's life a growing weight on her heart. She looked towards the distant ranch house, its lights a beacon of civilization in the vast wilderness. She had always avoided humans, their presence a disruption to the natural order, their encroachment on her territory a constant threat. But now, with her foal's life hanging in the balance, she felt a desperate hope, a glimmer of trust in the creatures she had always kept at bay. She lifted her head, her voice echoing through the valley, her cries a desperate plea for help, a mother's love transcending her fear of the unknown. The wind carried Spirit's desperate cries across the plains, their mournful echoes reaching the weathered walls of Caleb's ranch house. He sat by the fire, his book lying forgotten in his lap, his gaze drawn to the window, where the storm clouds gathered like an ominous army on the horizon. The cries, a sound that pierced the silence of his solitude, stirred something deep within him, a primal recognition of another creature's distress. He rose from his chair, his old bones protesting with a creak, his heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. He pulled on his coat and stepped out onto the porch, the wind whipping at his face, the first raindrops splattering against his weathered skin. He scanned the darkening landscape, his eyes searching for the source of the cries, his ears attuned to their direction. The cries led him towards the edge of his property, where the wild mustangs roamed, their presence a reminder of the untamed spirit that still thrived in the vast expanse of Montana. He had always admired their freedom, their resilience, their connection to the land, but he had also kept his distance, respecting their wild nature, their aversion to human interference. He reached the fence line, his gaze following the sound of the cries, his heart pounding with a growing sense of urgency. And then he saw her. Spirit, the magnificent mare he had often admired from afar, stood by the barbed wire fence, her head lowered, her body trembling, her cries filled with a desperate plea. Caleb, his heart touched by her distress, approached cautiously, his footsteps muffled by the soft earth, his voice a gentle murmur in the wind. "Easy, girl," he said, his words carrying a calming reassurance. "What's wrong?" Spirit, her eyes filled with a mix of fear and desperation, looked at him, her gaze pleading for help, her trust in a human a testament to the depth of her despair. She pawed the ground, her hooves kicking up dust, her whinnies echoing through the gathering storm, their urgency guiding Caleb towards the source of her distress. He followed her, his heart pounding with a mix of apprehension and compassion. He climbed over the fence, his old body protesting with a groan, his determination fueled by the mare's desperate cries. He followed her through the tall grass, his boots sinking into the muddy earth, the wind whipping at his face, the rain now falling in sheets, blurring his vision. And then he saw it. A small, dark form lay motionless on the ground, its tiny body partially concealed by the tall grass, its stillness a stark contrast to the frantic energy of its mother. It was Spirit's Foal, its leg twisted at an unnatural angle, a deep gash oozing blood, its shallow breaths a testament to its struggle for survival. Caleb, his heart clenching with a mix of shock and pity, knelt beside the foal, his weathered hands gently reaching out to examine its injuries. The sight of the helpless creature, its life hanging in the balance, ignited a fire within him, a primal urge to protect, to heal, to defy the cruel hand of fate. But as he assessed the severity of the foal's injuries, a wave of helplessness washed over him. The gash was deep, the bone clearly broken, the blood loss significant. He knew that without immediate medical attention, the foal wouldn't survive the night. He looked at Spirit, her eyes filled with a desperate plea, her trust in him a heavy burden on his shoulders. He knew he had to act, to do everything in his power to save her foal, to honor the trust she had placed in him, to defy the shadows of his past that whispered warnings of heartbreak and loss. He gathered the foal in his arms, its small body surprisingly heavy, its warmth a fragile flame against the coldness of the approaching storm. He looked at Spirit, his voice firm despite the tremor in his heart. "I'll take him to the vet," he said, his words a promise, a commitment to this wild creature that had sought his help. "I'll do everything I can to save him." Spirit, her eyes reflecting a glimmer of hope, nuzzled her foal, her soft whinnies a farewell, her trust in this human a testament to the enduring power of compassion in the face of adversity. Caleb, his heart pounding with a mix of determination and fear, turned and headed towards his truck, the foal cradled in his arms, its fragile life a precious cargo in his race against time. The storm clouds gathering overhead a metaphor for the emotional tempest that raged within him. The old pickup truck, a trusty companion in Caleb's solitary life, rumbled to life, its engine sputtering a protest against the encroaching cold. Caleb, his weathered face etched with a mix of determination and anxiety, gently laid the injured foal in the truck's bed, its small body nestled amongst blankets and hay, its shallow breaths a constant reminder of the urgency of their mission. He climbed into the driver's seat, his hands gripping the steering wheel, his eyes fixed on the dirt road that stretched ahead, its muddy surface treacherous under the relentless downpour. The storm, its fury unleashed, raged around them, the wind howling its mournful song, the rain lashing against the windshield, the thunder rumbling like a distant battle. Caleb, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination, pressed on, his foot heavy on the gas pedal, the truck's headlights cutting through the darkness, their beams a beacon of hope in the storm's chaos. He thought of the foal, its fragile life hanging in the balance, its survival dependent on his ability to reach the veterinarian in time. He thought of Spirit, her desperate cries echoing in his memory, her trust in him a heavy burden on his shoulders. He couldn't let her down. He had to save her foal, to honor the faith she had placed in him, to defy the shadows of his past that whispered warnings of heartbreak and loss. The road, usually a familiar path through the vast expanse of his ranch, now seemed treacherous and unfamiliar, its twists and turns obscured by the blinding rain, its muddy surface a challenge to the truck's aging tires. But Caleb, his instincts honed by years of navigating the unpredictable terrain, pressed on, his determination unwavering, his focus solely on reaching his destination. He thought of Dr. Emily Carter, the veterinarian in the nearby town, her reputation for compassion and skill with animals a beacon of hope in this desperate situation. He had met her years ago, shortly after his wife's passing, when his old dog Buster had fallen ill. He remembered her gentle touch, her calming voice, her genuine concern for the creature's well-being. He hoped she would be able to help the foal, to mend its broken leg, to offer it a chance at a life free from pain and suffering. He clung to that hope, his every action fueled by a desperate need to reach her, to place the foal's fate in her capable hands. The miles stretched on, the storm's fury showing no signs of abating. The truck, its engine straining against the muddy terrain, its wipers battling the relentless downpour, became a vessel of hope, its headlights cutting through the darkness, its destination a beacon of light in the storm's chaos. Caleb, his body weary but his spirit resolute, gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white, his eyes fixed on the road ahead, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and determination. He would not give up. He would reach the clinic. He would save the foal. He would honor the trust that had been placed in him. And as the first lights of the town flickered in the distance, a glimmer of hope emerged from the storm's darkness, a promise of salvation for the injured foal, a chance for Caleb to confront his own demons and rediscover the compassion that had been buried beneath the weight of his grief and isolation. The lights of the small town, a beacon of civilization amidst the storm's fury, grew closer, their warm glow offering a sense of relief and renewed hope. Caleb, his body weary but his spirit resolute, navigated the truck through the rain-soaked streets, his eyes searching for the familiar sign of Dr. Carter's veterinary clinic. He spotted the clinic, its windows glowing with a welcoming light, its presence a haven of healing and compassion in the heart of the storm. He pulled into the driveway, his tires crunching on the gravel, his heart pounding with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. He jumped out of the truck, his boots splashing in the puddles that dotted the parking lot, his movements swift despite the weariness that weighed him down. He rushed to the back of the truck, his hands gently lifting the foal from its makeshift bed, its small body still warm, its breathing shallow but steady. He cradled the foal in his arms, its weight a comforting burden, its vulnerability a reminder of the precious life he carried. He hurried towards the clinic door, his knuckles rapping urgently against the wood, his voice a hoarse cry for help in the stillness of the night. The door swung open, revealing Dr. Carter, her face etched with concern, her eyes widening in surprise at the sight of the drenched and anxious rancher holding a small, injured foal. "Caleb?" she exclaimed, her voice filled with a mix of recognition and concern. "What's wrong?" Caleb, his words tumbling over each other in his haste, explained the situation, his voice thick with emotion, his desperation evident in his eyes. "I found this foal," he said, his voice catching in his throat. "Out on the plains. His mother, she led me to it. It's hurt bad, Emily. You have to help." Dr. Carter, her compassion ignited by the urgency in his voice and the sight of the injured creature, wasted no time. "Bring him in," she said, her voice calm and reassuring. her movements swift and efficient as she led Caleb into the examination room. The sterile environment of the clinic, with its stainless steel tables and the faint scent of antiseptic, offered a stark contrast to the wildness of the storm raging outside. Caleb, his boots leaving muddy tracks on the linoleum floor, gently laid the foal on the examination table, his eyes never leaving its fragile form, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and fear. Dr. Carter, her movements practiced and precise, examined the foal, her gentle touch exploring its injuries, her brow furrowing with concern as she assessed the extent of the damage. The deep gash on its leg, the broken bone, the blood loss. It was a grim picture, the foal's life hanging precariously in the balance. She looked at Caleb, her eyes filled with a mix of empathy and determination. "It's bad, Caleb," she said, her voice honest but not without hope. "But we'll do everything we can. He's a fighter, I can see that." Caleb, his heart buoyed by her words, nodded, his gratitude evident in his eyes. He watched as Dr. Carter prepared for surgery, her movements swift and efficient, her expertise a beacon of hope in the face of the foal's vulnerability. He paced the waiting room, his anxiety growing with each passing minute, his thoughts a whirlwind of worry and a strange sense of responsibility for this creature he had rescued from the storm. He thought of Spirit, the wild mare who had entrusted him with her foal's life, her desperate cries echoing in his memory. He couldn't let her down. He had to believe in Dr. Carter's skills, in the foal's resilience, in the possibility of a miracle. And as he waited, his gaze drawn to the photographs of animals adorning the walls, their images a testament to the healing power of compassion and the enduring bond between humans and animals, a glimmer of hope began to flicker within him, a warmth that thawed the icy grip of his loneliness and rekindled a connection to life he had thought lost forever. The hours stretched on, each tick of the clock in the waiting room a hammer blow against Caleb's anxiety. He paced restlessly, his boots echoing on the linoleum floor, the silence punctuated only by the occasional clink of instruments from the surgery room and the whisper of the wind outside. He peered through the window, the storm now a distant memory, the first rays of dawn painting the sky with hues of hope and renewal. He thought of Spirit, imagining her out on the plains, her heart heavy with worry for her foal, her trust in him a burden he carried with a newfound sense of responsibility. Finally, the door to the surgery room creaked open, and Dr. Carter emerged, her face etched with fatigue but her eyes carrying a glimmer of cautious optimism. "Caleb," she said, her voice soft but steady. "The surgery went as well as could be expected. The foal is stable, but he's not out of the woods yet." Caleb, his heart a mix of relief and lingering anxiety, stepped forward, his voice rough with emotion. "Can I see him?" Dr. Carter nodded, leading him into the recovery room. The foal lay nestled in a warm blanket, its tiny body connected to a network of tubes and monitors, its breathing shallow but steady, its presence a fragile flame flickering against the darkness. Caleb knelt beside the foal, his calloused hands gently tracing the bandages that swathed its injured leg, his eyes searching for any sign of life, any spark of resilience in its fragile form. He felt a surge of protectiveness, a paternal instinct awakening within him, a connection to this vulnerable creature that mirrored his own yearning for healing and hope. He spent the following days at the clinic, his presence a constant comfort to the foal, his rough voice a soothing murmur in the quiet room. He would talk to the foal, telling him stories of the ranch, the wide open spaces, the herd of horses that awaited his return. He would describe Spirit, her fiery spirit, her unwavering devotion, her anxious vigil on the plains. He would speak of the beauty of the Montana landscape, the rolling hills, the snow-capped mountains, the wild creatures that roamed the land. He would sing old cowboy songs, his voice rough but filled with emotion, the melodies echoing through the clinic, a testament to the enduring spirit of the West and the hope that flickered within his own weary heart. The foal, his tiny ears twitching, his eyes fluttering open occasionally to meet Caleb's gaze, seemed to absorb the stories and songs, his presence a silent listener, his fragile life a testament to the enduring power of connection and the resilience of the spirit. Dr. Carter, observing the bond that was forming between the gruff rancher and the fragile foal, felt a warmth spread through her own heart. She saw in Caleb a reflection of her own dedication to healing, his compassion for the foal a mirror to her own love for animals. She would often join him in the recovery room, their conversations a mix of medical updates and shared stories of their lives, their connection deepening with each passing day. She learned of his past, the tragic loss of his wife and the daughter they had longed for, the grief that had driven him into the solitude of the ranch. She saw in his eyes the echoes of his pain, the loneliness that had become his constant companion, the vulnerability that he masked with a gruff exterior. She recognized in him a kindred spirit, a soul seeking solace and connection, a heart yearning for healing. And as she witnessed his gentle touch with the foal, his voice softening as he whispered words of encouragement, his eyes filled with a tenderness she had not seen before, she knew that this unexpected encounter, this fragile life entrusted to their care, had the potential to reawaken a part of him that had been dormant for far too long. The days melted into weeks, the foal growing stronger with each passing sunrise. Caleb, his initial apprehension replaced by a burgeoning paternal affection, found himself drawn to the clinic more and more. He'd arrive before the sun crested the horizon, eager to greet the foal, who he'd named Champ, a testament to the little creature's fight for survival. He'd assist Dr. Carter with Champ's care, his large, rough hands surprisingly gentle as he cleaned and bandaged the foal's leg. He'd bottle feed Champ, marveling at the eager suckling and the increasing strength in the foal's wobbly attempts to stand. As Champ grew stronger, Caleb would take him outside, the crisp Montana air invigorating them both. He'd lead Champ around the small paddock behind the clinic, watching with pride as the foal's steps grew steadier, his small legs finding their rhythm. He'd talk to Champ about the ranch, describing the wide open spaces, the herd of horses waiting to meet him, the freedom of galloping across the plains. And sometimes, his voice would crack with emotion as he spoke of Sarah, his late wife and the daughter they never had. One afternoon, as Caleb sat beside Champ, reminiscing about a particularly memorable horseback ride with Sarah, a wave of grief washed over him. The memory, vivid and poignant, transported him back to that sun-drenched day, the laughter they had shared, the love that had filled their hearts. He saw Sarah's radiant smile, felt the warmth of her hand in his, heard the echo of her voice carried on the wind. The pain of her loss, a wound that had never fully healed, ached with a renewed intensity. He buried his face in his hands, his shoulders shaking with sobs, the tears he had held back for so long finally flowing freely. Champ, sensing his distress, nuzzled his hand with his soft muzzle, his large, brown eyes filled with concern. Caleb, startled by the gentle touch, looked at Champ, his own grief mirrored in the foal's innocent gaze. He felt a connection, a shared understanding of loss and vulnerability, a bond that transcended species. He began to talk to Champ about Sarah, his voice thick with emotion, his words painting a vivid picture of the woman he had loved and lost. He spoke of her kindness, her laughter, her passion for horses, her unwavering spirit. Champ, his head resting on Caleb's lap, listened intently, his large eyes absorbing Caleb's every word, his presence a comforting warmth in the face of his grief. In that moment, Caleb realized that Champ was more than just a foal he had rescued. He was a companion, a confidant, a furry angel sent to help him heal, to remind him of the love he had shared, and to open his heart to the possibility of joy again. He continued to share his memories with Champ, his voice growing stronger with each passing day, his grief gradually easing its grip, replaced by a sense of gratitude for the time he had shared with Sarah and the unexpected gift of connection he had found in the young foal. He realized that in caring for Champ, he was also caring for himself, nurturing a part of his soul that had been dormant for far too long. He was rediscovering the compassion, the tenderness, the love that had been buried beneath the weight of his grief and isolation. And as Champ grew stronger, his playful antics filling the clinic with a renewed vibrancy, Caleb felt his own spirit reawakening, his heart opening to the possibility of a future filled with hope and healing. One afternoon, while examining Champ, Dr. Carter noticed a peculiar marking on the foal's flank, a small, faded brand in the shape of a horseshoe. She traced it with her finger, her brow furrowed in thought. "That's odd," she mused aloud, more to herself than to Caleb. "I've never seen this brand before." Caleb, his curiosity piqued, leaned closer, his eyes widening as he recognized the familiar symbol. It was the brand of his ranch, the mark he had seared onto every foal born on his land, a symbol of his legacy, his connection to the horses he had raised and loved. A wave of disbelief washed over him, his heart pounding with a mix of astonishment and a dawning realization. He looked at Champ, his eyes searching the foal's face, his mind racing with questions. "Where did you find this foal, Caleb?" Dr. Carter asked, her voice laced with curiosity. Caleb, his voice trembling with emotion, recounted the story of his encounter with Spirit, the wild mare who had led him to her injured offspring. He described the location, the secluded grove nestled amidst the rolling hills, the desperation in Spirit's cries, the trust she had placed in him. Dr. Carter listened intently, her eyes widening with understanding as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. "Caleb," she said, her voice soft but filled with a profound realization. "I think I know where this foal came from." She explained that years ago, shortly after his wife's passing, Caleb had sold a small herd of horses to a neighboring rancher. Among them was a young mare, a spirited palomino named Daisy, who had always held a special place in Caleb's heart. Daisy, known for her intelligence and gentle nature, had been a favorite of Sarah's, her presence a comforting reminder of the joy and laughter that had once filled their lives. Caleb, his heart heavy with grief, had reluctantly parted with her, hoping she would find a loving home and a life filled with happiness. He had lost track of Daisy over the years, the pain of her departure too sharp a reminder of his loss. But now, as he looked at Champ, the horseshoe brand a tangible link to his past, a wave of recognition washed over him. Champ, with his fiery spirit and gentle eyes, bore a striking resemblance to Daisy. The realization hit him like a thunderbolt, his heart pounding with a mix of disbelief and a burgeoning hope. "Champ, he's Daisy's foal?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. Dr. Carter nodded, her eyes filled with a gentle understanding. "It seems so," she said, her voice soft but filled with a sense of wonder. "It seems fate has brought you back together." Caleb, his heart overflowing with a mix of emotions, looked at Champ, his eyes tracing the familiar lines of his face, his mind conjuring images of Daisy, her spirit now alive in her offspring. He felt a connection, a link to the past, a reminder of the love he had shared with Sarah, the joy that Daisy had brought into their lives. He realized that Champ was more than just a foal he had rescued. He was a living testament to his past, a symbol of hope and renewal, a bridge between the life he had lost and the future that now beckoned him with open arms. He knelt beside Champ, his rough hands gently stroking the foal's soft fur, his voice thick with emotion as he whispered words of love and gratitude. "Champ," he said, his voice trembling, "you're a miracle. You're a part of my past, my present, and my future." Champ, sensing the depth of his emotions, nuzzled his hand, his soft whinny a testament to their connection, their bond a beacon of hope in the face of the grief and loneliness that had haunted Caleb for so long. And as the sun streamed through the clinic windows, casting a warm glow on their shared embrace, Caleb felt a sense of peace settle over him, a healing balm to his wounded soul, a recognition that life, in its unpredictable way, had brought him a second chance at love, connection, and the enduring power of the human-animal bond. The revelation of Champ's lineage brought a profound shift in Caleb's perspective. The foal was no longer just a creature he had rescued. He was a living link to his past, a reminder of the love he had shared with Sarah, the joy that Daisy had brought into their lives. He poured his heart and soul into Champ's recovery, his every action guided by a newfound sense of purpose and a deep affection for the foal that mirrored the love he had felt for his own children. He spent hours by Champ's side, reading to him from his worn collection of cowboy poetry, sharing stories of the ranch, and whispering tales of his ancestors who had tamed the Wild West. He would often talk about Sarah and Daisy, his voice thick with emotion, his words painting vivid pictures of their lives together, their laughter echoing through the quiet clinic. Champ, his large brown eyes reflecting the flickering firelight, would listen intently, his soft whinnies and gentle nudges a testament to his understanding. Caleb, his heart gradually healing under the warmth of Champ's presence, found himself drawn back to the memories he had long suppressed. He recalled the day he had met Sarah, her vibrant spirit and infectious laughter captivating his heart. He remembered their wedding day, the joy they had shared, the dreams they had woven together. He thought of their life on the ranch, the challenges they had faced, the triumphs they had celebrated, the love that had been the anchor of his existence. And he thought of Daisy, the spirited mare who had been Sarah's favorite, her presence a constant reminder of the joy and laughter that had once filled their lives. He realized that Champ, with his gentle spirit and unwavering resilience, was a gift, a reminder of the love he had shared, a bridge between the past and the present, a beacon of hope for the future. He vowed to honor Champ's presence in his life, to cherish the connection they had forged, to embrace the healing power of their bond. He continued to assist Dr. Carter with Champ's care, his rough hands now gentle and practiced, his touch a soothing balm to the foal's healing leg. He watched with pride as Champ grew stronger, his steps steadier, his playful antics filling the clinic with a renewed vibrancy. He would take Champ outside, the crisp Montana air invigorating them both. He would lead Champ around the small paddock behind the clinic, watching with a fatherly pride as the foal's legs grew stronger, his movements more fluid, his spirit as wild and free as the wind that swept across the plains. He would talk to Champ about the ranch, describing the wide open spaces, the herd of horses waiting to meet him, the freedom of galloping across the plains under the vast Montana sky. And as he spoke, he felt a sense of anticipation, a yearning to return to the life he had once known, to embrace the legacy of his ancestors, to reconnect with the land that had shaped his soul. He knew that the time would come when Champ would be strong enough to return to his mother, to the wild herd that roamed the plains. The thought brought a pang of sadness, a reluctance to part with the creature that had brought so much healing and joy into his life. But he also knew that it was the right thing to do, that Champ belonged in the wild, his spirit destined to roam free, his legacy intertwined with the untamed beauty of the Montana landscape. He would honor their bond by letting him go, by allowing him to fulfill his destiny, by carrying the memory of their connection as a beacon of hope and healing in his own heart. Spring unfolded across the Montana plains, painting the landscape in vibrant hues of green and gold. The snowdrifts retreated, revealing the lush grasses and wildflowers that carpeted the rolling hills, their fragrance filling the air with the sweet scent of renewal. Champ, now a robust young colt, had fully recovered from his injuries, his legs strong and agile, his spirit as wild and free as the wind that swept across the plains. He had become a cherished member of the clinic family, his playful antics bringing joy to the staff and visitors alike. But Dr. Carter and Caleb knew that the time had come for Champ to return to his mother, to the wild herd that roamed the vast expanse of the Montana wilderness. They had prepared him for this day, nurturing his instincts, teaching him the ways of the wild, ensuring his readiness to embrace his true nature. On a crisp morning, as the sun painted the sky in hues of gold and rose, Caleb loaded Champ into the trailer, his heart heavy with the impending separation, but his spirit filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment. He had healed the foal, nurtured his spirit, and witnessed the miracle of his recovery. He drove towards the familiar plains where he had first encountered Spirit, the memory of her desperate cries echoing in his mind, her trust in him a responsibility he had carried with unwavering dedication. He reached the secluded grove, its tranquility a stark contrast to the turmoil he had experienced in the months since their first encounter. He opened the trailer door, his voice a gentle encouragement as Champ emerged, his eyes wide with curiosity, his nostrils twitching with the familiar sense of the wild. He watched as Champ took his first tentative steps onto the prairie, his hooves sinking into the soft earth, his movements a graceful dance of freedom and newfound strength. And then she appeared, Spirit, her coat gleaming like burnished copper in the morning light, her mane flowing in the wind like a banner of freedom, emerged from the treeline, her eyes fixed on her returning offspring, her whinnies a symphony of joy and recognition.
Chant.
His instincts guiding him, whinnied in response, his youthful energy propelling him towards his mother. Their reunion a poignant dance of love and belonging. They nuzzled each other, their bodies intertwined, their spirits reunited in the vast expanse of the wilderness. Caleb, his heart swelling with emotion, watched the reunion unfold, his tears a testament to the beauty and power of the natural world. He had played a part in this story of resilience and connection. His compassion and dedication a catalyst for their reunion, his own healing journey intertwined with their story. He bid them farewell, his voice a whisper carried on the wind, his words a blessing for their future, his heart filled with gratitude for the gift of their presence in his life. He watched as they galloped away, their silhouettes merging with the horizon, their freedom a symbol of his own newfound peace and acceptance. He returned to the ranch, the silence now a comforting companion, the memories of Champ and Spirit a cherished treasure. He carried their story with him, a reminder of the enduring power of connection, the resilience of the human and animal spirit, and the transformative power of love in the face of adversity. He had found solace in the wilderness, a renewed sense of belonging in his community, and a deep appreciation for the enduring power of the human-animal bond. And as the sun set on his life, casting long shadows across the Montana plains, he knew that his legacy would live on, not just in the land he had tended and the animals he had cared for, but in the hearts of those he had touched. His story a testament to the enduring spirit of the West and the unwavering love that had brought him home.